Episode 20. I know we can get here. And today, introduce yourself, man. I'm not even gonna let them introduce yourself, man.
So hello, my name is Alec Almuina. I don't even know what to call myself. I'm a real estate force, man.
Freight train.
So real estate investor, real estate agent, real estate coach. That's my main thing. And I also happen to have a real estate license. So yeah. I do real estate, but I've just gotten to meet incredible people like you who have taken me to the moon, and I've gotten to go beyond just being a realtor or real estate agent. Mm-hmm. So I like to say real estate presence just because I get to do so many things cool around real estate.
Dude, can I just say, I'm so proud of you, dog. You know? So, kind of like, episode 19, I had the homies Isaiah and Nick on the podcast, and, you know, we all come from the same background. And funny enough, Alec and I kind of went to the same high school, and he was a class younger than me. So, you know, we have a lot of history when it comes to that. To say that you've got to this point, this amount of time, because I'm younger than you.
Are you really?
I'm 22 still.
I'm 22. So, okay.
Same age, right? And so, to do what you have done in that amount of time, congratulations, first off. How do you feel where you're at right now, man? Just overall, in the sense of where you are.
I mean, in one word, blessed. Just to be invited on podcasts and getting to go to the places where I've been, and experience some of the great things that I've experienced. Blessed, but still hungry for more. I'm grateful for what I have, but I know there's a lot more coming.
So you're not content?
Not content by any stretch, no.
Wow. Are you satisfied?
I'm happy, and I'm humble enough to realize that yes, I need to be grateful because I know that what I have is great, and I take time every day to go through my gratitudes and be grateful. But just holding myself to the standard that I do, I just can't ever say stop.
That's true. You kind of push forward. Man, it's crazy to look back because every day I go to Millen College all the time, and I studied every day for my future job, and I always reminisce about the times we had. And it's crazy because we never spoke. Well, we didn't speak that much in high school, right?
Yeah.
But I always knew, I was like, everyone knows Alec, and he's that guy that everyone leans on, everyone respects, man. If everybody wants to know something, you can talk to Alec. He'll make you feel better about your day. So what's it like coming up, from early college, getting to the new successes that you have now, and like, how have you how does it feel to be upbrought in that kind of area?
Well, I mean, talking about early college, I think straight out of the gate, I graduated when I was 17 and I had my associates, and I started real estate class during that time. So between graduating college and graduating high school, for those of you that don't know, we actually graduated college before graduating from high school. So I took that time and that opportunity to get my real estate license and get started. And, it was just an interesting experience telling people that, no, I don't have my diploma, but I do have my degree. So I'm ready to get started, and it was cool. And I remember it was such a cool factor at 17, but growing up and getting older and just kind of aging and becoming 18 and getting licensed and starting my career in real estate, I knew that I needed to do something else that was cool, because the cool factor of graduating with an associate's is great. But by the time you start getting 20, 21, even 22, having your associates kind of puts you at the status quo.
Sure. And
so in my book, it was, I need to do something better and cooler, so that way by the time I get to the age that I know we're all going to get to, I need to have another cool story to tell.
Wow. So do you feel like it's more about reaching your successes, or kind of having like, before I died, this is what I've done in life? I guess a legacy.
Yeah, and that's another big thing too, is because the big question is, do I want to have kids? I'm an only child myself, and so I have no other brothers, and I do have a cousin that I'm close with, and he'd be able to carry the family name. But for me, it's just, if and when I do have kids, when I decide to, I want to know that they have the best life that they could because of me.
I agree.
And so just giving something, I've gotten to meet some incredible people, and just hearing the phrase in my life that my kids and their kids are taken care of when I die. And that's just something so incredible because, I mean, and we'll just get right into it. I know that for me with the status quo is I don't want my kids to see me after I die and say, well, he did a lot, he worked a lot, and he died debt-free. Cool. Being debt-free and dying debt-free is a great thing to aspire for, but I want them to see that, my dad died or my granddad died, but he left us this real estate portfolio. Or he left us so many things to take care of us, and, I just got engaged.
Congratulations.
No, thank you. But saying that it's just giving me a whole nother outlook, because if I die unexpectedly, I want my fiance and future wife to not worry. I want to know, and I want to be in my deathbed content that she's taken care
and
of
everyone's
also.
Good in your family. So you kind of want to be like that beautiful branch or stem in the family tree, and I kind of respect that.
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing for me. Is just, my grandma before she passed used to say that Alec would suffer in silence, and I never understood what she meant, but I just kind of want to be that stronghold to know that my mom, my mom's taken care of. Yeah. My wife is going to be taken care of, and so. I do kind of understand it in a sense now because I never got it, but now it's like I want to make sure everybody's taken care of.
Yo, what a, and I agree with that statement. But what a deep, to what your grandma said, you're suffering in silence. That's something that we as people don't really acknowledge, or especially as men, we don't care to say that much. We do suffer a lot in silence, and the thing is, for the most part, it's hard for us to go out and reach out to somebody else like, hey, I need help. But most men don't say that. However, but my condolences to your grandma. But going back to your wife, man, you did it, and you mind if we show the video?
Absolutely. Let's show the video. Man, the video is beautiful.
Man, the video, and you posted it on Instagram as well, but you guys are watching it now. The video, I saw the way it was produced and the way you actually did it, man. You had her attention elsewhere, and then you popped the question, man. He did it, and guys, he's 22, man. We're the same age. When I think about marriage, man, I'm still thinking like, that's not possible for me. Because me, it's always been like an afterthought, right? Yeah. However, and we'll get to it in a second, it's good to have that backbone, that structure what pushes you, what propels you forward, right? And so, man, congratulations. How did you do it, man? I mean, you already knew.
Yeah. So it's been a long time coming. Yeah. My now fiance, I've known her since I was 14 or 15. And so we have huge history, and they say that you find the most beautiful things where you're not looking, and that's the truest case with her. We started dating nearly 2 years ago, and after about a year and a half I knew, and so I went ahead and got the ring going and started getting the ring put together and built, and that was the biggest kept secret for the longest time. And as soon as I got it, after 4 months of being put together, we were going up to New York for work, and I said, you know what, now's the time.
Might as well.
Yeah, and so I told her, I kind of let it up, and I said, hey, since we're going to be in New York, I want to put out a lot more content, and so we're going to have to get a vlog done while we're there, so let's go take some pictures, but I'm going to make sure. What an excuse. We're going to have this vlog, and we're going to have the photographer and the producer there, so we'll take some pictures and stuff, but make sure, and, we'll get ready, and we'll have our microphones on and stuff and be mic'd up, so that way
that's cool.
We can have a really cool vlog.
She had no idea?
She had no idea. And I kept thinking, and here's the other part of the story. Yeah. This trip to New York was planned long before, and so I was going to have to fly through airport security with this ring, and I really didn't want security to blow it. Right. And so what I did is I got a FedEx box, and then I put a smaller FedEx box inside of it, and then I put another smaller box inside. So I was lugging this big old Monopoly box sized thing around, and it just had a little bitty ring inside.
That's so clever though.
Yeah, and so we got it, we made it, and I told her she was getting a surprise, but I had this big old box, and so she had no idea what was inside. So
did it go through security?
Yeah, so right before we got on the plane, in the car, I opened up the box and I pulled it out and I put it in my carry-on, and I was like, hey, you can't go in here because your surprise is in here. So Thankfully, they didn't check it. I made sure and put a Post-it note on top of it just to this if security opened it, but thankfully they didn't.
Nice.
And so made it all the way to the top of the edge.
Yeah.
That is the tallest observation deck in the Western Hemisphere, 151 stories up. And so we went all the way up. That elevator ride was long. You can probably see in the video.
Yeah, you were having
it was crazy. Yeah, and so I was looking to my photographer for a little bit more, like tell me when to do it, man.
you just gotta go.
And so, no, I told her, I was like, hey, turn around, because we're going to take a picture and I want to get your hair flip. And so she flipped her hair and she turned around and I wasn't there because I was on my knee.
Yeah, you guys saw in the video, man. And so that's beautiful, man. That's some things that all girls should love.
Yeah. No, I wanted it to be something, and especially when finding a producer to put together the whole plan and the video, I was like, this is something that not only in 5 years, 10 years, but if and when we have kids that they're going to look back on. And so I want to look back and know that I did it right and not, oh man, why did I do that? Or why did I wear that?
Your kids are going to see it too.
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure it was perfect, and I think I did a good job.
No, you did amazing, man. I saw the video. I was like, wow. And I remember I went back, you reposted it. Yeah. I had to relook at it again. And I was like, man, good deal, man.
Thanks, brother.
Good deal, man. And so going back to what I mentioned, right? So you have now a fiance, right? And I met your mom. At the other meeting, right, man? And listen, when I met his mom, right, I remember I walked in. I was like, man, I'm talking to this lady, right? I spent like 15 minutes talking to her, and then I'm sitting. I'm like, man, this is a lady of importance, right? What's it? I think it's called like the Iron Lady. There's a movie called The Iron Lady, right? And all of a sudden, she's like, yeah, I'm Alec's mom. I'm like, the whole time I'm talking to you, you're Alec's mom, right? And so what I realized, I'm like, this guy really has a really good corner. And then I spoke to your wife as well, or sorry, fiance. Let me not get ahead of myself. But I remember I spoke to her, and I kid you not, right? A sentence in, I asked her a question. A sentence after she replied, I was like, man, it's like I'm talking to Alec. Because it's like y'all are a unit, right? Have that same backbone, same kind of mentality. And so how important is it, especially to get to where you are now, how important is it to have like a good, strong backbone?
I think it's something that's overlooked oftentimes. Like you mentioned earlier, us as men, we want to carry the world on our shoulders and don't need help ever. And, I've come to appreciate my fiance, and I think one of the biggest reasons that she's my fiance now is just how much support she's given me. Right. And the other day I started to notice, I was like, man, I asked this girl for a lot. And when I was up in New York, so we'll get into it in a little bit, but when we were up in New York, the plan was just to stay a week and come back, and we ended up pushing the return flight again, and then canceling it altogether.
Oh wow.
And so I was there, and I was interviewing with Ryan Serhant from $1 Million Listing, some other high individuals, former producers for Bravo, NBC, and I'm sitting there telling them this story that the return flight's canceled, and they're like, she was my girlfriend at the time. Your girlfriend's cool with that? And I was like, yeah, why not? And then the second time, and your girlfriend, like, she's here with you, right? Yeah. And finally, by the third time, I finally told her, I was like, I guess you're cooler than I thought.
Because you're here with me.
Because you're just down.
Yeah.
And then my mom has been my biggest supporter. She was a stay-at-home mom and homemaker. Yeah. And I've really, since I started kindergarten. And so, stay-at-home moms watching this, homemakers watching this, like, I have a very huge respect for them, because whenever I started my real estate classes, I mean, even before, when I was in college at 14, my mom was helping me study and keeping me up at night. And I remember I was on a time crunch to get my real estate license. I got my real estate license in 12 days.
Jeez, man. And see, that's crazy, because you cannot tell, and I spoke to her, right? You cannot tell she's a stay-at-home mom. Yeah. The way she was speaking to me, I feel pressured. You know what I mean? And that's crazy. Like, how did she develop those skills? You know what I mean? And I see it in you. I see it in you because the way you propel yourself and demonstrate yourself, and it's great. I respect that.
Yeah, no. When my mom stopped working, she was a headhunter for a company, and she was a student, a full-time student to this day. She's still a student, and so utmost respect for my mom. And I mean, even through real estate school, I remember there were some nights that I was up till 2, 3 a.m. and I remember she would quiz me, and whenever I'd start to doze off, she'd throw water bottles at me, anything she had by her to keep me up.
Yeah.
And one of the big things we were talking about family earlier is just when I got my real estate license, and then when I purchased my real estate brokerage, I was able to turn around and give back to my mom, and I actually brought her in, and not many 22-year-olds can say that their mom works for them. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, she's just been able to further carry on those skills, and
that's a beautiful, man. I think now that I actualize it and realize it, when I look at you, I see the backbone. I see who's pushing you, because you definitely have that, man. And so, no bachelors.
Do
you think that we need them?
So, short answer, no. I'm actually a dropout. I started my bachelor's, and after day one of starting my degree plan, I dropped out. No, I don't think you need them. I think if you are going into engineering or medical or law, and that's your passion, I'll be able to define later what I think a passion is. And that's really, really what you want to do, and you've had your heart set on, absolutely. Go for it. That's for you. I think one of the biggest things that I hate hearing is, I'm in school. Oh, what for? I don't know.
Yeah.
And so, no, don't. You're wasting time.
Yeah.
Get out, drop out, and find your passion. That's my biggest thing, And for me, I was lucky enough to find real estate. At the time of starting, I didn't know it was my passion. And getting started and getting in and starting by myself, and then finding a business partner, then growing a team, then eventually a brokerage. I remember the day I was negotiating, we finished negotiations on my brokerage. I had a really pivotal moment that kind of struck a chord with me, and I repeat to this day, because the other gentleman on the other side of the table that was negotiating with us said, "Hey, Alec, congratulations. We were finalizing everything on the brokerage. It was, we owned it."
Wow.
And he said, "I just need a copy of your ID so we have it on record." I was like, "Yeah, no problem." Pushed it across, and he scanned it, and he looked at it, and he said,
"My bad."
"No, you're kidding."
I was like, "Wait a minute."
He looked at it, and he goes, "You're not even old enough for me to celebrate with a drink with you." I was 20.
Wow. Yeah, I get that.
And so at that moment, I realized two questions that he didn't ask me up until that point was, one, how old are you? And two, what degrees do you have?
Because you come off extremely mature.
No, and I appreciate that, but at the same time, it wasn't important. In that moment, it was how well I negotiated. And I mean, to purchase the franchise, I almost begged for it.
Yeah.
And when they finally saw that, wow, this kid sold me, they were blown away a little bit more. And so that ended up being the second, cool thing that I had done for my age. But no, I don't think you need it. I think drive, and not just motivation, but drive to go and pursue your passion and do it. You don't need it.
Okay. And I agree. And feel free to interject if you have. So I agree with the same premise, right? So I was when I graduated, I remember Miss Arnett, lovely lady. She was our counselor at the time, back in my senior year. She told me, she was like, hey, she did a diagnosis of me and was like, hey, you should do psychology, right, going in. It seems like you're into that. And I really am to this day still. I did. I went into tech. I was like, I'm going to do psychology. My dad found out. And then when he found out, man, I remember the face. He didn't say anything. Just gave me a face.
Yeah.
For a couple days. I could tell he was not proud.
Yeah.
So I switched to engineering because that's what he does. And, I'm good at math, and that's not a problem. And then I got in, and I realized third year, I was like, man, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not only am I struggling through these classes, but at the same time, I don't have any passion to solve these problems. However, I do have a passion of understanding the problem. And so my third year, I had like an epiphany almost, and decided to switch to economics. Right now, I'm going to become a financial advisor. I still don't even know if that's my passion or not. And we spoke on this a little bit earlier. But in terms of what's the biggest advice that you would give someone who doesn't know if they should get a degree or not, and how to follow their footsteps, and how to follow what's destined for them?
So, I mean, it really takes a little bit of soul searching. And I guess the biggest example I can give, or the biggest metaphor, is someone in that situation is a lot like somebody who's 3 years deep into a bad relationship.
Oh, wow.
You know, and somebody who's 3 years deep into a bad relationship has love for this person, and maybe all the indicators are there that they should be with this person. But I think at the end of the day, if you can feel that there's something not right, and even if, whether it's family, friends, whoever says, no, this is the right thing for you, I think it takes a little bit of soul searching, because, I mean, if you're in a 3-year bad relationship, you're not going to want to pull out of it. You feel like it's time wasted.
Yeah.
And so
I might as well stick it out.
Right. I might as well stick it out. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, you know, because I went through that myself. I look back at, you know, Snapchat memories, you know, and I see some of the pictures or screenshots of things that I took when I wanted to be a financial advisor, or I wanted to be a luxury car salesman, or I wanted to be a financial, general manager and handle loans for cars and stuff, because at that time I loved cars. I still love cars.
I can tell.
You know, I love cars.
This guy's car is pretty nice. We're gonna keep it at that.
I love cars, and that's my passion. I enjoy cars, and so I thought, well, it makes sense. Let me go do that. I even enjoy working on cars. You know, and there's reasons today why I'm not a mechanic, and there's reasons today why I'm not a race car driver. I want to be a race car driver, but you know, there's reasons why I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
because my passion may not even be real estate. My passion may not be sales, but I enjoy the deal. I enjoy putting things together. The definition of the word broker is just bringing two people together.
Oh, wow.
And that's the original definition of the word. Yeah. And that's something for me that I really enjoy doing. I like bringing a person together with a deal. I like bringing myself together with a deal. Or if I can bring two people together that need to know each other, I enjoy it. Wow. And so I'm kind of giving a long-winded answer, but I think it just takes time to do a little bit of soul searching, because there is one thing that you enjoy doing. There's something that, I mean, when you were a kid, you would wake up at 6:30 on a Saturday to go and do, when Monday through Friday, waking up for school was a chore. Saturday, the first thing you did was you woke up and maybe you played video games, or maybe you know, whatever you did, you went out and you played soccer or something.
That reminds me, you said the exact same thing the other day. I'm gonna use that as an Instagram caption. You said, well, some days, even on the bad days, you wake up and do what you do even on the bad days. And I was like, that is very factual.
And there's sometimes, because you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. We're all imperfect, and that's just the way the world is. Right. But if you have found your passion and you enjoy what you do, and you can do it the best with the least amount of effort. That's my definition, by the way.
Of a passion.
The best of the passion. You do it the best with the least amount of effort. If you can do it even on your bad days, and it'll even pull you out sometimes. I have a friend who's been a photographer for 35 years.
Jeez.
And he takes pictures Monday through Friday. And I asked him, I'm like, do you work on the weekends? He was like, do I take pictures? Yeah, I take pictures, but I'm not working.
That's
you know, and so that's probably my biggest set of advice is when you're going down the wrong path, you know you're going down the wrong path. And if you're quite literally driving in a car and going the wrong direction, just because you've driven 200 miles in the wrong direction, you're not going to say, well, I've made it this far, might as well keep going. You're going to turn around and you're going to fix your path, because the reality is if it takes you 2 or 3 years to find your passion, 2 or 3 years is going to come anyway.
That's sure. So you might as well use that to find your passion.
Yeah.
A friend of mine told me once, he said, if you have to put in the work to make the profit, then it's not really profit. What do you think about that?
I agree with that. So one of the biggest things that I do or that I encounter a lot is people getting into real estate investing.
Okay.
And one of the first questions they ask me is, how do I invest in real estate? What should I do? Is it better for me to flip? Is it better for me to rent out to somebody? Or is it better for me to wholesale? And I won't go into the definitions of each of those. But my answer is always, well, what do you enjoy to do?
That's true. Yeah.
Because the profit's good with flipping. The profit's good for renting. But if you don't know how to hold a tape measure, you probably shouldn't be flipping. Yeah. But if you really enjoy hosting or giving hospitality to people, absolutely be a landlord or be a vacation rental landlord. Whatever, that's what you should do, because if you're going to enjoy the process, even better. Because at the end of the day, if you're not a flipper or you're not somebody who wants to go and knock down walls and hire contractors and that's not your thing, you may get the check. But I know there's some jobs in the world that you could not pay me enough money to do. And so I think what you just said is very true. So a lot of whenever I look at return on investments or when I'm throwing money towards something, quality of life is heavily what I take into account.
But you mean how does the day-to-day activity?
Yes. How am I going to enjoy it? Because sometimes I'll spend a little bit more just because I know I'm going to enjoy something that much more.
That's real.
Because we're living every day, so you might as well enjoy it. So yeah, I think that what you just said is very true. Very true. Because my answer is not the same as your answer, as somebody else's answer.
I'll elaborate on that. I feel like, in a sense, because initially, and you understand this, right? You took exams to get to where you were. Those exams, how many did you take, by the way?
I took 6 course exams. I had to take six courses to get my real estate license.
Individual licenses leading up to one, right?
Yeah.
So, and those aren't cheap by no means. So, essentially, those build up to get to where you are, right? And if to make profit, if you do the work to make profit, it's not really profit. In what sense? Because initially, when you start any kind of business, right, you kind of want to build up that business. You have to put in those hours initially. Let's say you put in, 108 hours, right? You build the website, you build the foundation, you build the automation, and boom, you launch it. It works for itself, right? Yeah. So at what point do you feel like, okay, you're putting in way too much initial effort into it for that profit? Because there's no clear gap, right? So at what point do you know, okay, this is not going to work out. I'm putting in too much time. Because for me, photography, for example, it's different. Yeah, I have to go out and do the work, no matter what. Yeah. Right? With financial advice, it's going to be the same thing. I have to go out and meet people. And you and I kind of the same. We're going to have to meet 2 people, bring a deal, and close out. So is there some kind of threshold that you must realize, like, hey, I'm putting in too much work to reach a certain result?
Yes and no, because I think it varies to each person. Mm-hmm. Because the camera recording this right now wasn't cheap. And you didn't enjoy the work to get it. But you're enjoying this, I hope.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
And so
20 episodes deep. I love it.
Same thing for me and for anybody else. Mm-hmm. Is, I feel like my pain tolerance and my stress tolerance is a lot higher than anybody, because I'm willing to go through hell,
sacrifice
to get what I need and get what I want to get to where I need to be. And I think there's an amount of sacrifice that it takes to get to where you want to be and what you need. Mm-hmm. Because the same is true as if it were that easy for everybody would do it, because the top 1% is the top 1% because they did what 99% wouldn't do. And so I know for me specifically, that's where I want to be. Mm-hmm. Figuratively, exactly. I mean, whatever the case, that's where I want to be, and that's the standard that I hold myself to. And so it may take some stress sometimes, right, because it wasn't a golden path for me, and it didn't get me all the way up to now, and it's just been easy. Mm-hmm. I remember experiencing my first winter as an 18-year-old in real estate, with $200 in my pocket and negative $200 in my bank account.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember sitting Thanksgiving crying on my floor because I didn't know where my next check was going to come from. You know, and it's scary sometimes.
I know.
And it can freak you out a little bit. And so I think it varies person to person, because the reality is if you do, anybody can throw their hands up and say it's too hard. So I'm going to go and work an easy job.
Yeah.
Where my problems end at 5. And I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. And I never have to experience an extreme level of stress.
Anxiety, depression, Thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys are enjoying the Fabricated podcast, please leave a like, comment, subscribe on YouTube if you're watching it, and share it with your friends. Obviously, we want to grow into a massive empire and you know, dominate over everybody. So share with your friends. And if you'd like to donate to the Fabricated podcast, because you know I work hard so you guys don't have to, check out the link in the description on whatever platform you're on, and donate however you feel. You don't have to if you don't want to, but you should, because I work hard so you don't have to. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in, and let's get back to the main podcast episode.
Yeah. So I think it varies to each person. I think each person really has to define it. And for me, I actually like to chase problems.
Yeah.
Because I know that the problems I'm facing this year are way more than the problems that I faced last year as a byproduct of what I asked for.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So it's just one of those things where it's like, I have what I have. You know, you prayed and you asked and you manifested that Ferrari, but that Ferrari needs gas and it needs tires and it needs maintenance. You feel me? Yeah, and it's expensive. Or you manifested and you prayed and you whatever that new apartment, it needs, and you got bills with it and it's got rent with it.
It's like they say, like you mentioned, the problems this year are bigger than the problems last year. Problems next year will be even bigger.
Exactly.
More money, more problems. And so I love it, man. I love that you said that. And to elaborate on that, that's my next question. It's not really a question. It's more of a... So I graduated at 16. You were 17, right?
Yeah.
And so we went to early college, high school. I mean, that's no easy feat. Don't let anybody be confused. It wasn't like it was an extremely hard program, but it required some time.
Right.
You graduated and went straight... Matter of fact... So I remember we graduated sometime in May from Millen College.
Yeah.
And then I think it's like a month and a half later, in June, we graduated with our diplomas, right? So in between that time frame, you went and was studying for your licenses. At that point, I consider you a young entrepreneur. Explain the grind, the hustle, the wit, the grit through that process, man. Because obviously it takes something to be an entrepreneur. Yeah.
And so for me, I went ahead and did real estate class in person just because I wanted to get it done. And I knew if I did it at my own pace online, it might take a little bit longer.
Sure.
And so for me, it was, I want to start selling as quickly as possible. And so I went and I sat in class and I studied. And, you know, for me, the class part of my memory just kind of zoomed by, you know, because I was asleep for half of it. I don't know.
Probably.
But, you know, it was just, let me take in as much knowledge as possible and let me throw it back up on the quizzes. And so I did that just as quickly as possible, and just to get to that final exam. So there's 6 quizzes to get to a final exam here in Texas. And so when I got to that final exam, I wanted to take it as quickly as possible. And so the very first time I went to go take it, I failed. And so I was like, damn.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I was like, that hurt. And so I failed it. I don't remember by how many questions I failed it, but it was like
Relatively close.
it was kind of close, but like it wasn't like one or two questions. Like I earned my F.
Okay, so, okay. It wasn't a heartbreaker.
Yeah, it wasn't a heartbreaker. It was like, I deserved it. So what, quick story. The reason it happened is there's a national and a state portion.
Okay.
I only studied for the national. I said, well, shit, the state's in the nation.
Are you talking about the life and general health insurance exam? I think that's what you're talking about.
No, I'm talking about the Texas Real Estate Commission exam. Okay. So there's a national and a state. And so I was like, let me just study all of the United States. Texas is in there. Well, I didn't know that the state exam was all the exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
So I passed the national. I failed the state. So I was like, you know what? I'll take it again tomorrow. And so I stayed up all night, and I studied, and I crammed, and I crammed, and I crammed, and I went again, and I failed by one question.
Oh, perfect.
And I was so mad. So with the real estate exam, you only get 3 attempts. After your 3rd attempt and you fail, you have to go back to school.
And start over?
Well, there's a continuing... It's not quite as much, but it's still enough to piss you off. Yeah. And so I went home and I put my books in a box, and I had a bad attitude, and I played Xbox.
Dude, gotta hide the pain away.
No, dude, I was mad, and the words came out of my mouth, I'm just gonna go work at 7-Eleven. I was 17 still.
Damn.
And so I seriously, I lived at my parents' house, and I turned on the Xbox in their living room, and I played Xbox for a day and a half
straight. Man.
And so after that, I don't know what I turned on, but I turned on a YouTube video or something just to get that fake feeling of motivation. And I cracked my books, and I actually talked to my mom, and I was like, Mom, like, I'm gonna need a little bit of help to study. Do you mind quizzing me? And she was like, yeah, absolutely.
Shout out.
And so you get 14 books whenever you start doing your real estate courses. You get 6 for Texas, 6 for national, and then 2 prep exams. Okay. I start at book 1. All the way over.
Yeah. Nice, bro.
And so I scheduled my exam for the end of that same week. And all night, like, I lived off of 5-hour energy all week. And I studied, and I studied, and I studied. And my mom kept me up. Like, she was my study partner. And
shout out to Mom.
Yeah, shout out to Mom. Like, go hug your mom.
For real.
And so at the end of the week, I scheduled my exam for 8 a.m. and I studied till about 4 a.m. And I figured if I don't pass, like, I earned my F. It was a solid, I learned all that I could. Yeah. And so my first
at that point, it wouldn't be my bad. It wouldn't be meant for you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, yeah. You'd be so my first 2 exams, so what they do is they actually let you go back and circle some of the questions to, like, check and see and kind of go back and forth to check your answers or whatever. The first 2 times taking the test, I checked back and forth for hours, even to the point where on the side of the computer, I was doing math equations to figure out what my score would be if I missed all of the ones that I didn't know completely. My 3rd time taking the exam, I sat like this, taking it.
No way. Just like, I know all this stuff.
I knew it all, dude. It just took a little bit of studying. Yeah, no, I sat like this, and I was just click. They were just so easy. And so, needless to say, I walked out with an A. They don't tell you exactly what your score is, so I walked out with an A. And, oh, man, you couldn't tell me nothing.
Dude, I know you were feeling like the man.
Yeah, I was feeling like the man. And so then...
I just want to say, first off, you better be grateful and thankful that the game you were playing on Xbox wasn't addicting.
Yeah, right.
Because if it was, man, oh.
I know, I would have been there even longer. Dude. No, so... I got out, and the first thing I did was I called my mom, let her know that I passed, and she was, of course, excited for me. And so there, while I was sitting in the car, I called the real estate commission because I was like, bro, like, I passed, activate my license, like, I'm ready to go. And so I called them, and the lady that answered I was like, hey, I passed my exam. Here's my 2 numbers. Let's go. And she was like, well, I'm sorry, sir. We're not issuing new licenses. What? So this was during Hurricane Harvey.
Oh, goodness.
This was during Hurricane Harvey. Yeah. And during this time, everything was underwater. And so the Real Estate Commission had issued a state of emergency to all the agents and said, all agents who currently have licenses, you don't have to renew. And any new agent, sorry, but you can't get licensed.
Wow. Heartbreaker, man.
Dude. So I went back and I played Xbox.
Back on the sticks, man.
No, and so, but seriously, so I was like, what the hell? So I looked online. I had all of my prerequisites done. Yeah. I had all the education I need. All I needed was to just pay my application fee, get my license, and over with. And so I kept refreshing the website, couldn't get through. And every day I would call and say, hey, like, I'm trying to get my license. Nope, sorry. Heartbreaker. So finally what I did is I went onto the TREC website, the Texas Real Estate Commission website, and I entered my card number. And I hit submit. And on my bank statement, it took the $200 fee.
Oh, wow.
Said, hold on.
Where's
and so I called and I said, hey, I need my real estate license. I've already done everything, blah, blah, blah. And they said, sorry, sir, we're not issuing licenses. And I said, well, you guys took my payment and they said they were going to give it to me. Will you just transfer me to somebody who might know? Absolutely. So they would put me up another level. Same conversation. Well, y'all took a payment. Do you mind pushing me to somebody who might know? Went all the way to billing, went all the way to the lady with the big red button on her desk that would issue licenses.
Oh, wow.
And so I said, I didn't know this at the time. I said, ma'am, I, blah, 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 you guys took a payment. Okay. And she was like, I'm sorry, they transferred you all the way up for nothing because we're not issuing licenses. We don't even have the facilities to give a new license to anybody. We don't even know what your number might be. And I said, well, you guys took a payment from me. Would you mind looking into that? Because surely it's easier for you to just
issue the
plan a license and give me a refund.
Yeah.
And so she types, hold, okay. Gets back on, you still there? Yeah, hold. And she keeps going through. And she goes, Alec, I see your payment here. I see that it did in fact process. I see all of your course materials came through. You have everything except for one class.
One more class.
You only have 5 classes. I had sent 5 of the 6 certificates that I needed.
No.
And I said, Janice, I don't remember her name, but Janice, please stay on the phone with me. What's your email?
Yeah.
Janice@trek.com. I don't know what it was.
Something like that.
Here. And she took it and she goes, nope, yeah, you do have your 6 classes. To that same email, do you think you could just send me my license? And she did.
Just like that. Just like that.
She issued my license, and I drove to my first real estate interview.
Nice.
And that was how I got licensed. So, talking about how much pain should you have to go through, and how much should you grind, and at what point do you stop? If you know the answer is yes, the answer is yes, and whether you think it's yes or whether you think it's no, you're right. You just have to be so convinced that you go after it. Because for me, every pivotal moment of my life, it's felt like there's been a glass wall. And I call it a glass wall because you still have to push through it and you still have to break through it. And yes, it's going to hurt going through a glass wall. But for me, I've always been able to see what's on the other side of it.
The wall. And you've always been like optimistic that would look
exactly.
Man.
When you can taste something like that, you're going to find a way. And yeah.
Well, what a story, man. Let me make you feel better, man. Because, okay, so I haven't told anyone this, but my parents, basically my family knows. Man, that's crazy because I feel your story because I did the exact same thing. So I got the job as a financial accepted the position in the role, financial professional. And I have to take 3 exams, right? The life insurance one, the SIE, and then the Series 7, right? So this weekend, I'm like, man, she's telling me all this stuff through the phone. Just take the first exam. It's memorization. You'll be all right. And obviously going through ECHS, you think, oh, it should be light work, right? So I went up there this weekend. I drove 2 hours to Lubbock, got in my car. That night before, I actually slept pretty well, right?
Yeah.
But I woke up at 6, so I have to get there at 8. Lubbock's only like hour 45, hour 30 on a good speed. So I get there, I drive up there, and I take the exam. And I'm sitting through the exam, I'm like, where do these questions come from, right? What's going on here? I studied like a good amount. And so I submit the test. I'm like, you know what? I probably got a 40. I feel bad. Still failed.
Yeah.
However, I failed by 2 points.
Wow.
2 points, right? So I'm sitting there, bro. I got in my car. I didn't know what to feel. I feel like that's something. I don't know what happened to me. I forget what happened to me, but I'm numb to grief. I don't cry as much as I need to. It's just dribble there. But as much as I need to. But I saw that, I was like, man, 2 points, right? So now I got back, and the way I'm studying now, it's a whole completely different structure. And I got back home from Lubbock, and just like you did, I just started playing the sticks, man.
Yeah.
I did it for a whole day. And so it's just the whole, like, I don't know. Sometimes as a man, you got to double down and knuckle down on yourself.
Yeah.
What your worth is, what your priorities are. And so, man, I love your story. And you can tell, to get to where you at, you kind of went through hardships and adversity.
Yeah.
So, I respect that. So, random question, man. If I was to give you $100,000 right now, cash, no tax, tax-free, I should say, what would you do with it?
So $100,000, I want to say put it down on an apartment complex. That's my very first. I'd put it down on an apartment complex, and 20% down. I'd go find me a $500,000 apartment complex, and then I'd rent it out. However, I want to have a little bit left over.
Okay.
And so I think what I would do is just purchase as many rentals as possible, whether by buying or by renting them. I'm doing a lot of Airbnb arbitrage right now, and $100,000 would buy a good amount of furniture and rent a good amount of commercial rentals. And so that's probably the very first thing I would do, is just reinvest it into real estate.
Something profitable,
something to start making money immediately. Because I found that buying more income has served me way better than putting it in a savings account or putting it in my checking account. Even to this, as of right now, there's more money in investment accounts than there are in my own personal accounts.
Oh, wow. And I respect that. And that's how it should be, honestly.
Yeah. And so, whether it's in Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever you can have growing for you, yes. But for me, my biggest thing right now is just real estate, especially in our area, just renting stuff out by Airbnb. Like, it's been so profitable that I'd probably just keep doing it. Yeah.
Not bad, man. See, you're blessed in the sense that the things you love usually center around money, right?
Yeah.
When I wrote that question, I forgot about it and I came back. I was like, what if I gave myself $100,000, right? Here's my answer. I think I would rent out a studio, kind of like Joe Rogan has, have a setup, right? And then the rest of the money I'd put in towards like a management team, somebody to manage my advertisement, marketing type of thing, so that same $100,000 can be profitable, not only through the interviews itself, but also through social media, Anchor, any podcast platform, whatever. And also to push me through my social media, because after a while you realize that social media gives you a lot of leverage.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting perspective too, because I think there's 3 ways to look at different money, and it's working at a job where your time converts to money.
True.
The second is where most entrepreneurs start, and it's trading work for money, in the sense of I can provide this service and I can make money. And that's where I stayed for a lot longer than I'd like to admit, to where now I've learned that I enjoy working and I enjoy making my own money. You know, I can do something like wash a car and make $50 straight away.
Right.
But if I can purchase something that creates money, I'm winning.
That's true.
And you know,
you're not doing the work for it.
Had you asked me that question a year, 2 years ago, I might have said, I'll buy a billboard, I'll buy advertisement, I'm going to buy a commercial, I'm going to start putting my face everywhere so that people call me to buy and sell real estate. Now it's, I'm going to go buy something to make me more money.
That's smart. So you'd rent out, I guess, a whole establishment complex and just have it rent out for like the next couple of years.
Yeah, if I had $1 million, I'd go and buy a 100-unit apartment complex in Florida. That's my $1 million plan, because I feel like I ask myself that question every week: is what would I do with $1 million today? Because the goal that I failed at, that hit me very hard, was to become a millionaire at 21 before my 21st birthday. And so for me, I have to visualize something in order to receive it.
That was a goal for you at 21? Man.
Yeah. From 20 to 21, it was,
level.
I will have $1 million. So another big thing that I do, and I may just have to get into my success habits later, but another big thing that I do daily is write down my goals. And if you look through my journal for nearly 360 days straight, was I'm a millionaire 21-year-old. And I started writing that while I was 20.
Smart. Yeah. Do you have like a book for that? 'Cause
yeah.
I have one as well, but I feel like there's different structures that are better and more formidable for that. But every day. Every
day. Yeah. So, that's one thing that I do. And so going back to the original question, I buy a 100-unit apartment complex, rent them all out for $1,000 a month. And my $1 million is now making $1,000 times 100 units monthly.
And I mean, obviously with the upkeep costs and the refurnishing.
But as of right now, I honestly feel like, so whenever I went to New York, that story that I talked about, my personal home was rented out on Airbnb and paid for that trip.
Wow. I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
And so
did you know to do that, or just kind of something that you...
No, I did on purpose. So I have 13 Airbnb units.
Okay. Yeah. As of now.
As of right now.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me if a stock doesn't pay for it, if crypto doesn't pay for it, or if real estate doesn't pay for it. It's very hard for me to buy it.
Okay.
And it's so crazy to look at it that way, because I try not to spend my earned income. I try and reinvest it and let the investment income purchase toys. And so as soon as I landed into New York, the Airbnb income hit. And so my trip was free the day I landed.
Which is why you was able to push the...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I just kept rebooking.
Okay. How close are you to that goal, that 1 million goal?
I think it's reasonable for me to set it for when I turn 22.
When you turn 20, okay.
Yeah, but no, when I turned 22, I was crushed.
You as well.
I was mad because, I mean, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
So Bill Gates kept saying that he was going to become a millionaire by the time he was 30, and he became a billionaire when he turned 31. And so I was like, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 21, and I'm going to be a billionaire. So even though that was my goal, I missed it. I missed the goals mark, but I also missed my own mark.
It was a personal goal for you.
Yeah. And
that's crazy. You do it daily. I mean, and
Monday through Friday. I will say during the weekends, I don't set it as much of a goal. But I like to read. I love to read, and I love to look at not only like Bible scriptures, but even other holy texts and stuff, just to get inspiration and see what people for the last hundreds of years have done to become successful. And one scripture that I remember a lot that even Steve Harvey himself quotes is, see the vision and make it plain and write it so that he who reads it may seek it out. And so I write my goals in such a way so that if you were to read it, you can read what I've written and seek it out. It says, "He who reads it may come to it," and so that's why I do what I do. My biggest success habits are probably writing down your goals, writing down your affirmations, and then writing down what you're grateful for. Because if you're not great, it's a scientific fact that gratitude reciprocates itself. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not grateful for the things that you haven't made yourself able to receive something new.
Okay. And we're going to say, because my book is the exact same thing. It's to do, goals, and it's happiness. What's it called? Like faith.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. And let's segue into the 5 F's, because we're going to save routine for part 2 here shortly. But I have this concept I was told about the 5 F's, right? Okay. And you might know what it is. I feel like you might know this, but called the pillars of success, right? It calls it the 5 F's. So the 5 F's consists of this. There's family, and that includes like friends, right? Close friends, cousins, and whatnot. Faith, where you have the faith from. Finances, fun, and then fitness.
Yeah.
And then he says, if a pillar goes down, the rest go down, right? So obviously, if the finances go down, you can't have fun, right? If your faith goes down, then family goes down too. Family goes down, then you can't have any of those. So it's like, okay, well, what kind of structure do you feel like? And I feel like you kind of hit all this every day.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that structure is kind of important, and what does that look like?
I think that's something for somebody who's trying to become successful. I think that's something very reasonable for somebody to follow.
Okay.
I also think that you'll find yourself adjusting and trimming off and trimming fat as you get further into the process, but I think that's a good home base for most people.
To kind of start.
I don't disagree with it. I think if you can have all of those things functioning completely, yeah, absolutely. Okay. But I think part of my path to success, I had to trim off a lot of the fun, at the very beginning.
There isn't any at the beginning.
And then in the same token, I had family tell me to stop,
Oh, wow.
And that was something I had to trim off a little bit too, and I had a lot of friends
respectfully,
tell me, or even people that I looked up to, teachers and things, tell me, real estate, are you sure? That's more of a part-time gig.
Right.
And just kind of being like, ooh.
Should I really want to do it?
And so, yes, I think that's a powerful home base. I think anybody can do it. I think your health is something very incredibly important. I think education is incredibly important. I think goal setting, gratitudes, affirmations, daily tasks are incredibly important. And I think bigger than all of those combined that I could put into 2 words is doing and drive.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is I find so many times I get hundreds and hundreds of messages weekly.
Okay.
Monthly, weekly, it depends. It varies.
Per week.
Of, hey man, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to get into real estate? Or, hey man, I like what you're doing. How can I get on that? Show up. Come in. Meet with me. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah, most people won't.
Hey man, what school do I need to get to get into real estate? I like what you're doing. It looks pretty easy because, you started when you were 17 and now you got all this. Here's the links. Come to me after you finish. In the past 4 years, one
person. Of course. No one wants to cross that boundary.
Yeah, one. And, it's hard. It's not for everybody, and that's fine, but I see so many people and so many young entrepreneurs, and I try not to say kids because I'm a kid too, and I'm usually referring to people older than me when I say that. But it's like, oh yeah, I'm watching, Graham Stephan on YouTube, and he said to do this. Or I'm watching Ryan Pineda or Grant Cardone or Gary Vee. Gary Vee says it's never too late to start. I love Gary Vee. But I'm like, bro, we got to start yesterday. I am running out of time.
Yeah.
And so I watch YouTube videos myself. I educate myself after I'm done working.
Gotcha.
Before I start working.
Especially when you're reading and stuff too, you kind of get your own knowledge.
And just do it because There's a difference between motivation and drive. I hate whenever people come and tell me, I'm so motivated to get this done, because motivation runs out.
That's true, but are you driven?
But do you have that drive to get up? Because in the morning the sun's going to come up, whether you're there to greet them or not.
Doesn't matter.
You got to get there, because you can teach anything except for drive. That's the one thing that has to come within. You can be the worst salesman. You can know nothing about real estate. But if you have drive, I can teach you.
You can be successful. There's
a crazy story. So whenever I was in school, during the same time, a kid had just gotten licensed, and he was from Ecuador, I believe.
Yeah.
He didn't speak English very well. But he had to do real estate school in English. And, the houses there are very different than here. Contracts, was brand new to him, was very foreign to him. And so when he got started in real estate, he had heard that homes for sale by owners were a good source of leads for him to reach out to people selling their home for a sell by owner, so he could sell their home for them and help them out. Well, in real estate, we call those FSBOs, FSBO, for sell by owner.
Okay.
So they gave him a call sheet, and he would dial, and he would say, "FSBO, you need me to sell your house." And they'd hang up on him.
Dang.
And so he'd pick up the phone again, and "FSBO, why you hang up on me?" And he would just do this through numbers and numbers. "FSBO, let me sell your house."
Hang up on him.
And they hung up on him. He ended up being the top producer in his brokerage that year, just from consistently calling. And he was in the top 3. He probably still is in the top 3. Yeah. And he got the most listings of any rookie because of just that persistence. He had the drive and the hunger because he was here.
With little to no English.
And so, if you've got drive, anybody can watch. I remember, watching YouTube videos whenever I first got into real estate, and I'd watch them and I'd see them close, and I'm like, I need to go do something. And it'd be like 10 at night. I couldn't do nothing.
Yeah. Tired as hell, whatever.
But no, keep yourself educated. My goal is to read 53 books a year.
That's insane. Bro, I got 12.
Yeah, so 53 books a year. The average CEO reads 52 books. That's about 1 a week. Okay. I want to read more than the average CEO.
So you can be, obviously, okay. I mean, the logic is there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, man, I need to set my goals bigger, man. Y'all do too. Y'all hear this, man?
So, yeah, I mean, 10x your goals.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things that's resounded with me from Grant Cardone is if your goal is to lift 50 pounds, you need to practice like you're lifting 500. Right. Because if you lose an arm, you get sick, you get hurt, that 50 pounds is still going to be easy. So always shoot, higher. If my goal is to be a millionaire, I need to shoot for 10 million.
If not a billion.
Yeah, exactly.
Land somewhere in there.
And so, no, I mean, just 53 books. Did you know that the average American reads less than 1 book a year?
That actually doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, the average American reads less than 1 book. The average CEO reads 52 a year.
There's a reason why. Man.
Yeah.
Man.
And it doesn't even have to be like, even if you get because there's been some times that I get halfway through a book and I'm like, I'm not feeling this, but I still read it all the way through because it makes me think.
Okay. And I respect that because right now I'm reading I think it's called, you might know it, The Power of Habit.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm only on chapter 2, but just starting off, I mean, it's taken me a month to read it because I've been all over the place, but it's actually starting out to be a really good book.
Yeah.
And so, speaking of habits, we're going to get into that in the next part 2. But stick around, guys. Grab your snacks, take a break. We're going to take a break as well. And we'll see you on Fabricated Podcast.
See you guys.